What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another My Week With video. So this week I've been driving the 2023 Volkswagen Golf R 20th Anniversary Edition. So the 20th Anniversary Edition is mostly just an appearance thing. There's no performance improvements here, unfortunately, unlike the German version, which does get a few extra horsepower. But for this, it's just the appearance thing. So you get the blue badges on the outside for the R logo, and then you get the black wheels. You also get the black mirror caps, although if you go for a white or a black Golf R, then there'll be blue mirror caps, which is an interesting switch. But you also have no sunroof here, and then you have carbon fiber trim on the inside, and it's about $650 extra, so not a huge upcharge, but a nice cool little thing. They're only making about 1,800 of them, so if that's something that interests you, it's cool they've offered this, and it's a nice little package. So the main reason though why I also wanted to do this video was also just to talk about what it's like to live with the DSG version for a week. So I did have a manual Golf R for a week and came away pretty impressed with that, although I was a little underwhelmed considering what my expectations were. And then I also did do a modified DSG one last fall where I got to drive my buddy's Golf R, and that was a lot more fun, and that kind of lived up to what I was expecting out of the Golf R, but that one had about 50 extra horsepower and stuff, and so of course that one was going to be a little more fun. But now in a stock DSG Golf R, unfortunately, the one thing that actually kept coming back to me all week was that this DSG transmission is kind of annoying sometimes. I wish it was better, and I know some people really love it, and for some reason, whenever I did the quick drive video on the modified one, I don't know if it was the new tune that one had or what, but that one was a lot more enjoyable, and I didn't have any issues with the transmission in that one. But in this one, if you are just in the normal drive mode, so I was in the S mode there to do a little bit of a more fun acceleration for you guys here, but I have, in this custom mode here, everything else is in the normal mode aside from the exhaust, which is in its track mode, so that's going to be a little bit more exciting. So I have that on just so you guys can hear some better sounds here, but we'll turn on to this other road here and just get on it, and then it goes. So this car really hates like 3/4 throttle. If you're not floored and you're not pressing down on the little kickdown switch on the bottom of the gas pedal there, otherwise it's very slow to react, even in the sport mode, which is the default mode this car is in. You would think a sport mode would be pretty responsive, but it always wants to like lug the engine, and it's really like, are you sure you want to downshift? This car just feels, the way it's tuned, like it does not want to go fast unless you really like poke it hard with a stick, and then it's like, okay, now I'll go. But like the amount of times this week that I have been sitting at like half throttle and I'm like expecting gas, and then it starts to go. Like there's sometimes I've counted like to 4 or even almost 5 seconds until it finally gives me the response I'm looking for. And yes, if I floored it, then it would finally give me the response a little faster. But whenever you're just trying to do those like slightly more aggressive accelerations, but you're not trying to go balls to the wall, that's where this thing kind of gets annoying to me. And the one thing I guess you can say is you can either drive around in sport mode all the time for the transmission, then you'll be sitting at 3,000 RPM all the time everywhere you go. If you don't care about getting terrible fuel economy, go for it, and then you have great response there. Or you can just do the manual shifting. But usually, like by the time that I'm even like, okay, like where's the downshift? Where's the downshift? There's the downshift. I can repeat it every time, by the way. It's very repeatable. But every time that I, do that, it's always like, okay, it's got to be coming soon. It's got to be coming soon. And it's like by the time that I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just do a manual downshift myself, then it does downshift. So it's one of these things, I guess you either have to like be okay driving around slowly or just manually shift this all the time, or maybe over time the transmission will learn the driver. And this press car with 2,600 miles on it, maybe it's just very confused and doesn't know what it needs to do for the driver behind the wheel. But maybe there's some extra intelligence there that'll happen as you live with one of these. But over a week, it never figured out what I wanted to do, and it was always so repeatably slow. So let me do a full demonstration here. So we're cruising at 33 miles per hour. I'm going to give it half throttle, and we'll see how long it takes to actually give me a half throttle acceleration. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There's the boost kicking in. I'm not moving by foot. Now all of a sudden we're going way faster. That is how long it takes to figure this stuff out sometimes. And the DSG transmission has been praised so much, and it's great in other stuff, and it's great if you're manually shifting, it's great if you have it in all the raciest modes, but for the usual daily driving stuff that most people use these for, it's just really honestly annoying. And I found myself, even though you get less torque in the manual, and the manual didn't seem super exciting to me, at least the manual didn't actively annoy me like the DSG does. And so I'm sorry to say this DSG just is underwhelming. And again, with a tune, like the one that I had with a tune was great, at least driving it spiritedly. It was really right on its game and was, a lot more exciting and involving. But this just, as it is from the factory, just... there it goes again. And there's a lot of times where I was at stop signs where like I actually confused other drivers, because I'd be like, I'd start going, but I'd go so slowly that they're like, oh wait, does he want me to go? And I'm like, nope, I'm just waiting for this thing to figure out that I actually want to accelerate now and then go. And it's just, it's bizarre. I don't know, it must be a Volkswagen thing, because Volkswagen Taos, totally different car, but the Taos also had the same thing where it was like, it was a Jekyll and Hyde gas pedal, where it was like you got everything or nothing, and there was no happy medium. It seems like that same person must have set up the Golf R here for the DSG, because it's the same, like you get everything or nothing with the transmission tuning here in this. It's just bizarre. So maybe other people have different opinions. I know a lot of people love these DSGs. I will also add that I had an Audi S3 for a week, and the tuning was great. I had no complaints. Transmission didn't annoy me at all. So it's just unique to the Volkswagen, and it's not a mechanical thing. So with tuning, it could be better, and I guess that's why the tuned one was better and why the S3 is better. There's nothing wrong mechanically with this thing. It's just the way they set it up. But as it sits right now, if you're going to keep these stock, I would say if you're going to go for a Golf R, go for the manual. Even though you get a little less power, the manual is definitely the more satisfying experience, unless you're sitting in grueling traffic and you just don't want to deal with a clutch pedal, and you're okay just manually shifting yourself or dealing with the stuff that I've been talking about here. But that was honestly the dominating thing all week for me, because even though I'd be like, okay, I'm having fun, that sounds good, or it handles really well, or whatever the case might be, there's a lot of really redeeming qualities to this car, but then it would just be like, but it's not figuring out I want to downshift. And it's the simplest thing that shouldn't be hard to do here in the 2023 model year, to give me a downshift quickly. I guess they're just so obsessed with good fuel economy. But the funny thing is, I didn't even get good fuel economy this week. So, I guess it's relative depending on what you're comparing it to. But over my week of driving here, I've been getting 22 mpg. These are rated at 23 in the city for the DSG version, 30 on the highway, and 26 combined. And now I did, just a little bit of highway driving, not too much. It was mostly city around town kind of driving. And I usually do get 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating on average anyway. So this is falling in line with that. It's acceptable fuel economy, and for 315 horsepower and all-wheel drive and an automatic, it's not bad. It's still better fuel economy than you get in the slower WRX, for example. So, it's relatively decent, but it's not even, performing to their own estimates. I don't even think that the tuning of the transmission really helped me with economy either, and I have the stop-start system on and all that, and still just wasn't super impressive from a fuel economy standpoint either. But I don't want to be all negative in this video either, because I do have a couple positive things to say about it. Of course, the Golf R is very nice, and when I did my first review on the manual Golf R, and you can watch that video if you want to hear all my thoughts on how it drives, all the drive modes, everything else about this whole vehicle, I give a very comprehensive, detailed review in that manual transmission video. But since then, I have now driven all of the hot hatchback competitors, and so I've gotten a new perspective on the Golf R compared to where I started with, a couple of years ago whenever I first drove one of these. And so what I can say now is that it really has taken on a whole new value proposition, because especially now that we've seen the crazy markups on the Type Rs, on the Integra Type S, and on the GR Corolla, the Golf R doesn't seem like it's very marked up. And so, if this is one of the few ones you can actually get at MSRP or even close to MSRP, without too much trouble. Now, they're not making a ton of these either, so it's not like they're plentiful, but at least, it seems like they're not being marked up as badly. And so, if you can get one of these closer to the sticker price, then it could actually be the best value of the bunch. In addition to the fact that, I think that even when you're looking at MSRPs for all these, this is really the best hot hatch value out there. It just is. You have, more horsepower than basically all of them, aside from the Integra, which gives you 5 more horsepower. You have the all-wheel drive, you have the automatic transmission, which none of those offer, by the way. If you want a dual clutch, or any kind of automatic for that matter, this is it. This is your only choice. Whenever you look at it with all those things that it offers, and the fact that it only offers all this stuff, like this one, even with the 20th anniversary package on it, is just over $47,000. And at that price point, you get leather seats that are heated and cooled. You get a heated steering wheel. You get a Harman Kardon stereo system that sounds pretty good. You get a pretty nice sized screen. You get much nicer materials than, especially the Corolla. That's just, basic Toyota interior. But, I think it's a little bit more polished to the interior, a little more refinement than the Civic Type R. And I'd say, Integra Type S is maybe a tiny bit better. In some areas, I think it feels a little more polished. But I think this is basically right there with the Integra. And I think is, really top notch, and yet it doesn't, it's cheaper than an Integra Type S with 2 less driven wheels, and arguably possibly even a faster 0 to 60 time and stuff too. I mean, these are really fast, and I think kind of underappreciated in some ways as well. So it's just going to come down to how you feel about this transmission, or if you're okay with the manual or whatever, but I think as long as you can make your peace with that, and also this infotainment system, which also has been very divisive, I know. And I do have to say, one last little complaint I will add is that I don't know, it must just be a glitch with this one, because I just had a GTI for a week and this didn't have the same issue. Neither did the previous Golf R, so I'm hoping it's just this car. But the home button here and all this stuff in this little black left segment of the screen is like super unresponsive, and I had to literally like lay my finger there for like a full second for it to register my input there, which is ridiculous for anything in the year 2023 to need something that slow of a response. I don't know what's going on with this one, but it took me like a solid 15 minutes to figure out I need to like lay my finger there in order for it to actually work. I couldn't figure out how to even use that home button. I was like, is this screen broken or what? So but as long as the infotainment screen's okay, it still annoys me with how they have the radio settings buried in genre categories. You can't just go to satellite radio and say you want this channel. You have to go through and say, I would like a pop channel, and then go to hits one, or whatever the case is. It's still horrible for the design, but as long as you're basically just using CarPlay or Android Auto all the time, you'll avoid the Volkswagen system entirely, and it'll be a very minor issue. So I don't think the infotainment system should be a deal breaker. And my buddy that owns one of these said he actually really liked it. He has no problems with it. He learned to live with it. That's different for every person, but it's possible to not hate this infotainment system, or at least have a decent workaround with just having CarPlay and Android Auto all the time, which is wireless and worked flawlessly, by the way. Connected every single time this week and was really well done. So really, another positive thing I have to say here about this. And the car itself is really fun. I mean, while we wait, there we go, there's the power. It is really quick once it does get up and decide it actually wants to go. And once you got that engine on boil and it's, in the zone, then it is a ton of fun. I mean, handling is still so flat, steering is so sharp. It certainly feels heavier if you are looking at just the all-wheel drive ones and you're cross-shopping this with a GR Corolla. I will say this feels heavier. It feels less agile, less playful, even though it does have the drift mode. I actually think that the GR Corolla feels a little more playful and a little more tossable. So it's just going to come down to your preferences there. I also enjoy the Golf R motor more, even though it's slower, less power. It's more boosty with its nature, and just feels really fun and old school. And I talked about this in depth in my GR Corolla review, but if cliff notes of that one, that engine is just really makes me feel like the old days of the Evos and the STIs, and that combined with the simpler interior and stuff, it all really feels like those old Evos and STIs, and like Toyota's carrying that torch. But this is definitely refined and on a different level, I think, from a polish standpoint. It's the more mature one. It's more subtle looking and all that. So if that stuff appeals to you, I mean, this is still a great option. I just, again, would recommend getting with the manual. But I really love these, and I mean, at 47 grand, again, it's just really unbeatable. A GR Corolla, even for those cores with the performance package and the heated seats in a cloth interior, is going to run you, I think around $40,000. This does, come in, $6 or $7 grand more expensive than that, but you have, again, all the extra features, all the extra refinement and all that, especially when you compare this to the Type R. I mean, it's the same price as the Type R for all-wheel drive and a little more refinement. Less space, you have a smaller hatch and a smaller back seat in this than, the Civic and the Integra. And then especially whenever you compare this with the Integra, I mean, the Integra, everyone wanted a moonroof in it. It doesn't have a moonroof. It doesn't seat 3 in the back. This has the moonroof if you don't go for the 20th anniversary edition. This, has the 3-seater back seat, and you have the cooled seats. You have, all those things a lot of people were upset about not getting, not having an automatic, not having all-wheel drive in the Integra. This does all those things for, 3 or 4 grand less, and probably even more of a bigger price difference if, there's no upcharge on this compared to the Integra, at least right now here in the summer of 2023. So, for all those people that were upset about the Integra Type S and you were disappointed, get a Golf R. Like, it's the easy solution in my mind. It gives you all those things that you're looking for, and it's just, I think, really underappreciated. I think also, like, I even just happened to look the other day when I was doing my GR Corolla video. This actually has some discounts available out there, and I actually saw one. I think it was like $1,500 off the MSRP for one of these. So I mean, if you can get one of these again in the low or mid 40s, it's just an unbeatable value. And so it doesn't matter how I feel about The transmission, I mean, I just find a manual one, and yes, it's less exciting than a GR Corolla, but you get so much more car for your money. And so if you're the person who's in the mindset of I want as much features and as much luxury and as much horsepower and performance for my dollar, the Golf R is the cold, logical choice. Now, whenever you bring emotion and other biases into it, I'd say that I had a lot more fun with the week I had with the GR Corolla, way more fun than my week with this, because again, half the week I was wanting to bang my head off the steering wheel because it wasn't downshifting. But I mean, aside from that, I still think the sound isn't quite as exciting, the engine's not quite as exciting as the competitors, and it's a strong, it's fast, it's really solid car, but for me it still leaves me feeling a little cold. And I was hoping the DSG version would be more exciting, and it feels faster. I mean, you have more power, it's a faster 0 to 60, having the extra gear versus the 6-speed. The 7-speed here is great, but I just kind of came out of this week still a little underwhelmed with the Golf R. It's fine, but I just think these days we're spoiled for choice. There's so many amazing hot hatches that if you aren't in the most things per dollar mindset and you're looking for the most emotion, I just feel like I had more fun in all the other competitors than I had in this. So unfortunately, that's my bottom line here on the Golf R. Good car, but haven't fallen in love with it like I have with the other 3 competitors out there. So anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the Golf R, really. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Be sure to also go watch, again, the manual video if you want to hear all of my thoughts on all the details of the Golf R. And we also even did an interior review, so if you want to hear all the thoughts on this interior, definitely check out those videos for all the info. And be sure to check out my videos on the other hot hatches as well if you want to hear all my thoughts on the GR Corolla, the Type R, and the Type S Integra. But anyway, thank you all once again very much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.